You know, we've gotten a little better with that G2211 code, but still there are questions. Hi, Shannon DeConda here with NamUs. And some of those questions that we're getting, the most common question we're getting is on the documentation requirements, which makes sense. CMS is very gray on the documentation requirement for G2211. And for that reason, I wonder if that could be why many of the commercials who originally said, we'll pay for G2211 are coming out now saying, time out, it's bundled. We're not going to pay for it anymore. Or beginning this date, we're no longer going to pay for it. The problem is I don't know of a single CPT code that we can bill, expect to get additional reimbursement for, and not have medical necessity to support it. Documentation proves medical necessity. And if we assume medical necessity is why did you do it, then that is documentation. So for all of those reasons, I understand why CMS is saying, it should already be there in the E&M. Well, that should raise your eyebrow for, then if it's already there in the E&M, then it stands to reason that eventually you're going to say that's bundled into the E&M as well. I mean, they're just laying the groundwork for that to be a bundled service. So if you want to make sure you're supporting those services, there should be documentation. Remember that G2211, even outside of the descriptor of G2211, what CMS tells us is this is about that ongoing relationship with the patient and making sure that through that ongoing relationship, we are managing that patient. Now, ongoing relationship, and there's a great article that we created on this with that ongoing relationship is if you have an existing relationship and you plan to have an ongoing relationship with that patient for that problem, that is ongoing. So first of all, is it ongoing, and do you have the documentation to support that? So that's step one. And then step two would be, what is the dialogue going on that's establishing that relationship about that serious or complex problem that necessitates that interaction? When we go back to that example CMS gave us of the HIV patient, a patient who is non-compliant, regardless of what that HIV diagnosis was, whether maybe it was diabetes or hypertension, whatever we modify that diagnosis to and substitute it for another chronic, serious, complex diagnosis, we can see non-compliance is an issue. And it's going to continue to make that patient's problem worse. If we create that relationship with the physician or the provider and they become in a relationship, what we're doing is ensuring that maybe we can reach that patient in a way that we can ensure that that patient has ongoing compliance. I don't know when the last time was that you were at the physician, and I am one of the biggest physician advocates you're going to meet. But I'm going to tell you that I was very challenged with my mother. My mother passed away actually a year ago, and my mother had severe heart and kidney disease. And when you tweaked her heart, her kidneys suffered. When you tweaked her kidneys, her heart would suffer. But the hardest part of all was getting the cardiologist and getting the nephrologist together. Do you understand that things that we are trying to do in healthcare, or I shouldn't say we're trying to do, but things like this that CMS is trying to do is trying to foster better patient care, building that relationship with the patient and trying to get them to have more compliance, own their relationship with their provider better. That is trying to help for better patient outcomes, just like TCM, CCM, all of our CPM, the chronic all of our chronic care managements that we have these days. All of these are trying to push for better patient outcomes. So maybe what we really need also is one that is going to be a chronic management across health channels, where our providers are more encouraged to bridge that gap as well. But my point is with the G2211, I kind of took a rabbit trail there, but my point with the G2211 is the documentation simply needs to identify what the disease process is that is serious or complex, and maybe it's not a disease, but the problem that is serious or complex, and what that care was that is ongoing, that was relationship oriented. Because remember, regardless of what the descriptor says, those are the fundamental keys that CMS says. It's ongoing, it's longitudinal, and it's more about building that relationship for patient compliance and nurturing that patient for ongoing care. If you have questions, or maybe you're ready for an audit on G2211, I'm here, always happy to help and talk to you about what's going on inside your organization. So click below, leave me a message, or send me an email. I hope you have a great day, and let me know if you have any questions.